Okay, remember that they're changing my voice. Okay, remember. Okay, remember that they're changing my voice. Joel 1 is a key chapter. In Joel 1, verse 4, it says, "What the locust swarm has left, the great locusts have eaten. What the great locusts have left, the locusts have eaten. And what the young locusts have left, other locusts have eaten." It goes on to say, "Wake up, you drunkards, and weep, wail, all you drinkers of wine. Wail because of the new wine, for it has been snatched from your lips. A nation has invaded my land, a mighty army without number. It has the teeth of a lion, the fangs of a lioness." The word fangs is like the F word for homosexuals for reason. Believe it or not, that's part of the wordplay there. I don't entirely understand why that is, but I understand to a large degree. And I don't think anyone entirely understands why that is. We see in Joel 2 where it talks about the army of locusts, an army of locusts, that it's clearly talking about the day of the Lord. In fact, Joel talks about the day of the Lord. Let's go to Joel 2, then we'll go to Nahum 3, and we'll help you understand why the locust swarm is officials, the great locusts are merchants, and the young locusts are guards, and how it connects to the nation, how it connects to the lions and the fire and the locusts and the horses and the chariots, all of which are in Revelation. "Blow the trumpet in Zion, sound the alarm on my holy well. Let all who live in the land tremble, for the day of the Lord is coming, it is close at hand. A day of darkness and gloom, a day of clouds and blackness. Like dawn spreading across the mountains, a large and mighty army comes, such as never was in ancient times, nor ever will be in ages to come." So in Revelation, the sun is darkened, the sun is struck. Okay, the stars, many of the stars are struck and by the dragon's tail. Okay, the stars are said to fall like figs, and the heavens receded and was rolled up like a scroll. There's a lot of figurative talk there. And so we see here where it talks about the darkness and the gloom, right? The gloom is key as well, because it says, what, you might think, why is it going to be dark? It has to do with the state of being of people. He goes on to say, "Before them fire devours, behind them a flame blazes, before them the land is like the Garden of Eden." The land is like the Garden of Eden, right? Before them there's some kind of possibility to connect to God, right? The tree of life, what have you. Behind them, a desert waste. Nothing escapes them. Again, the fertile land is associated with Horus, and the desert is associated with Set. And we know that the various mythologies that are connected in the area are connected to the Bible, because in Revelation it talks about Apollyon, okay, aka Abaddon, and it says that he's given one of these names by the Greeks. So why would the Greeks know what to call him? Why isn't this name in the Bible all throughout the Bible? Why is this name just in Revelation, it seems? Now, I could be mistaken, but almost certainly it's just in Revelation. Why are they talking like we know what they're saying already? Why on earth would the people who wrote Revelation, the person or people, John the Revelator or otherwise, why would they say Abaddon? Why would they say, and on it sat death, and Hades followed with them? Why say Hades? Is it just how they're interpreting it? Well, that's not the problem in Revelation, is it? Because there's too much being said there for it just to be a difference in interpretation. So it's safe to say that death refers to Dispater and various pagan deities, and Hades is what they mean by hell, and hell is even the name of a pagan deity. So like I've been saying for years, the Bible is explained in terms of mythology, and the esoteric or the original is in Africa. That's where these ideas come from. Now, who came up with them? The Royal African Falcon Martial Order. How? Because God, through nature, caused mankind to stand up in Africa and to become human beings. There was the most impressive transformation there in terms of a group transformation in all of history, where mankind went from being a primitive animal of some kind to being a Homo sapien. How? Was it Tesla types? No. Was it Pee Wee Herman? No. Was it Carlton? No. Who was it? Was it Cheech and Chong? No. Who caused that to occur? It was the Royal African Falcon Martial Art Order. Now again, you need to truly understand this stuff, or you don't understand the Bible and you're on some mystery society nonsense if you don't understand the Bible and you continue to try to explain it or live it or whatever. So it goes on to say, they have the appearance of horses, they gallop along like Calvary. With a noise like that of chariots, they leap over the mountains, like a crackling fire consuming stubble, like a mighty army drawn up for battle. So what are they compared to? They say they have the appearance of horses. And when you see how the horses and their riders are described in Revelation, how the locusts, you see that this is connected, right? They're talking about locusts. There's horses. There's Calvary, the four horsemen of the apocalypse, the four angels who are bound up under the great river Euphrates. There's numbers that connect together. There's different ideas that connect together. And so what does it say? Now, that's a very interesting question. What does it say? Again, I try to help people understand this by comparing it to a kiss. If you see let's say you had your first kiss and it was a very lovely experience. Well, how would you describe it? Is there one explanation? No. Do the words exist? No. If you wrote it down in a book, in a poem, would some people get one thing from it and other people get another thing? As long as they know you're referring to that kiss, are they basically right in a sense? Yes. In another sense, are they wrong? Yes, because it's the type of thing that you do and don't need to pinpoint. It's not simple to explain to you why they chose locusts, or why it's fire, or why a nation has invaded my land, an army without number. It has the teeth of a lion, the fangs of a lioness. Why it's explained that way. There's something about a lion, about a locust. Locusts strip the land. Lions are ferocious, but it's more to it than that. And if you leave it at that, you miss the point. That's like saying the Bible is about, letters on a page. Okay, yeah, that too, but there's more to it than that. Or people giving their opinion about God, but there's more to it than that. Or it's about the mysteries. No, it's about way more than just the stupid, shallow mysteries, and mystery cults. Those people did not know what the hell they're talking about. The Bible is about the experiences of the Royal African Falcon Martial Art Order being twisted by the people in Rome and by whoever the Jewish people were at the time. The Bible is Bible. But is what they're talking about here correct? Well, yeah, if you interpret it correctly. Let me give you an example here. There was once a pharaoh in Egypt who united the land. He was from a black African patriarchal line. He struck down his enemies masterfully. Okay? Some scribes came along and said, no. He was actually a fairy Jewish Peter Pan looking guy clicking his heels who lived in Tel Aviv named Gay Ephraim. Okay? Now, which story is correct? The one I just told, or is that story? Now, if that guy told the same story but superimposed himself in it and made it so it seemed gay and fairy-like, is the story, and he wrote it down on a page, in a book rather, is the story still there? Yeah, unless you're an idiot. You say, what do you think this story's about? Is it about that? Is it about Peter Pan over there? No, he superimposed it on Pharaoh. And more specifically, because it doesn't matter if they're in Egypt or somewhere else, he superimposed it on the Royal African Falcon Martial Art Order. To a racist, greedy Pinocchio-ass motherfucker, the race might be all that matters to them. And they lie and superimpose their race. But if you get that from the story, you are a dumb, greedy, shallow, useless, wicked, foolish fool. And a lot of these people, they cling on to science with a death grip, and scientists have said that race doesn't exist, right? There's too many variables unaccounted for. There's too much confusion. There's too much mixing. Okay, so they're holding on to an idea that's a construct that they created to some degree. What doesn't exist is patriarchal lines, but it's even more complicated than that, because there's gene expression, RNA gene expression, There's, it doesn't express itself one-to-one, skips generations. There's all kinds of problems with it. And of course, I doubt it ever expresses itself identically. What are the odds of that? So, for example, you might have some traits that are more like your great-grandfather than your father, and more like your grandfather, okay, than your son. And so you get this kind of thing going on as well. So to hold on to race is very silly, very futile, very pathetic, very foolish. But if some people clearly understand things in terms of race, and they say, hey, they were actually Jews, not black or whatever, right? Somebody should correct them. But they should also explain that it's stupid to be a racial supremacist. Okay? It reminds me of this one gentleman who was talking about prison and prison politics. He said, is race an issue? Yes. But it's not the biggest issue. Business to them is the biggest issue. So when we're talking about the story of the Bible, is race an issue? Yes. But it's not the biggest issue. The biggest issue is God and doing God's work in the Royal African Falcon Martial Art Order. Is the fact that they're black African an important fact? Yes. But it's not the most important fact. So to argue about the race is like arguing about whose pair of shoes is better. Okay? At the essence of it is the truth, right? Truth versus falsehood. Being a morally precise warrior before being versus being a mere merchant. Bel is a deed of merchants, and merchants often come with scientists and craftsmen and nerds and so on and so forth and scribes. So at the sight of them, nations are in anguish. Every face turns pale. They charge like warriors. They scale walls like soldiers. Speaking of that, notice that they bothered to say like warriors. They're warriors. It's a warrior spirit. They all march in line, not swerving from their course. They do not jostle each other. Each marches straight ahead. They plunge through defenses without breaking ranks. They rush upon the city. They run along the wall. They climb into the house like thieves. They enter through the window. Now, this is one of the most important parts. We see this in Revelation. I want to say it's the part when they gather these people together for the great day of battle, okay, where it says that I come like a thief in the night. Now, what do they mean? Okay, again, I've explained this many, many times, okay? You have the sun on top of the cloud, right? Christ coming back on the cloud, and you have the darkness beneath it in the shadow. We see earlier in Joel 2, verse 2, a day of darkness and gloom, a day of clouds and blackness, like dawn spreading across the mountain, a large and mighty army comes. So the main interpretation, like I've said many, many times, is it's God's army. But there's also that darkness. Now, what other things are going on, right? Evil people are abusing each other, like in Revelation 17, where it says that the beast will hate the prostitute and burn her with fire. That's one of many examples that connect to Revelation. That's one of the best examples. It might even be the best example of this idea I'm explaining right now. So, wicked people abuse each other. Now, if you're a wicked person, okay, you're not only getting abused by yourself and other people, but God's army is stripping you of everything of worth and marshaling you to the lake of fire. It is dumber than shit. The anti-martial art is just dumb to be evil. To cheat me out of my right to lead is dumb. They all march in line, not swerving from their course. They do not jostle each other. Each marches straight ahead. They plunge through defenses without breaking ranks. They rush upon the city. They run along the wall. They climb into houses like thieves. They enter through the windows. Like thieves, they enter through the windows as opposed to the door and arguably the gate. So I'm laying waste to these people, and there's other angles being worked here. Okay, like it says in I want to say it's John 10, where I'm the good shepherd. Okay, and I enter through the gate. The one who enters in another way is the thief who wishes to harm the sheep. So you see the argument of righteousness harming them, like dawn, and you see the argument of wickedness, like darkness. Okay, and you see that it's being turned into desert. So those who worship the devil are being handed over to Set, who's a deity of wasting your life, of self-destructive behavior, of the desert, of rape by deception, of child molestation, and all the wicked and despicable things out there. Okay, so as I just demonstrated with Joel, when you see things that are kind of grouped together in the Bible, it's part of the formula for explaining things, right? Those things are connected to Revelation. And so here in Nahum 3, let's go to verse 5. I am against you, declares the Lord. Matter of fact, let's just read Nahum 3 through here real fast here. And you're going to see that it connects to Cush. It explains what the locusts are. It explains the importance of being a warrior and not some kind of sissy, pansy, spiritual weakling. It doesn't matter if you could lift 1,000 pounds. It doesn't matter if you have the biggest army in the world. If you aren't spiritually mighty, okay, and you might be Jesus on the cross, you might look feeble in a sense at the time. But if you're not spiritually mighty in truth, then you're a weakling. And that's what it's saying here. So Nahum 3, woe to Nineveh, which has everything to do with Assyria, and Assyria and Babylon like go hand in hand. Woe to the city of blood, full of lies, full of plunder, never without victims, the crack of whips, the clatter of wheels, galloping horses and jolting chariots, charging Calvary. There's that Calvary from Joel. The same kind of formula being used. Flashing swords and glittering spears. Now, why bother to say flashing swords and glittering spears? Well, there's flashing like lightning, striking like lightning. What happens when you punch really fast or you move really fast, your mind sees things in a way, your brain in a way that's like lightning. Your brain's communicating in a certain way. There's parallels there. But there's also the negative side of it, right? It's a lightning storm. It's dark. And there's snake venom that is like the color of lightning. Incidentally, so is, I'm going to talk about some little discussing real briefly here. So is semen. Many casualties, piles of dead, bodies without number, people stumbling over the corpses. All because the wanton lust of a prostitute alluring the mistress of sorceries who enslaved the nations by her prostitution and peoples by her witchcraft. Going back to Revelation 17, Revelation 18. I am against you, declares the Lord Almighty. I will lift your skirts over your face. I will show the nations your nakedness and the kingdoms your shame. It has implications on rape, on females being loose and disgusting and horrid and losing their worth, and instead of preferring to fight to the death. Now, just because someone's been raped doesn't mean they should throw in the towel. But it's who, what, when, where, how, why. If you're a useless slut who's being passed around and you don't plan to redeem yourself by obeying God through me, then you're just some slut with your skirt lifted over your face. It's just come a loose kind of demon whore. All who see you will flee from you and say, Nineveh is in ruins. Who will mourn for her? Where can I find anyone to comfort you? Okay. Now again, even if you're a virgin, if you're not obeying God through me, you're a prostitute in your own right. You're yoked to the wicked, what have you. It goes on to say, are you better than thieves? All these people that stick up their nose at me, right? Pay very close attention. Tell them Nahum 3, 8 through 9. Are you better than Thebes, situated on the Nile with water around her? The river was her defense, the waters her wall. Cush and Egypt were her boundless strength. Put and Libya were among her allies. Yet she was taken captive and went into exile. Her infants were dashed to pieces at every street corner. Lots were cast for her nobles, and all her great men were put into chains. It's just kind of like, the transatlantic slave trade, right? So here it's talking about these people who are mixed black people to some degree. There's Cush and there's Egypt. And it says that they have a boundless strength. Okay? But even these people who are seen as like tougher than other people. Their army's large, yeah. But if you're talking about, the Bible talks about how I believe it was the Amorites are these tall and strong people. If they're talking about Semites like tall and strong people, imagine what they were talking about, in terms of black people, right? The greatest armies there were black people. And so they're like, look, these guys have a huge army. There's these tough black guys. They're their boundless strength, right? Cush and Egypt, right? And Put in Libya are these kind of more skinny desert people, what have you. No offense to anybody who are among her allies that even, bolster her ranks even more. And incidentally, the Jews were said to be expelled from Crete to Libya by some historians, for their, their wickedness, what have you. There's Dionysus worship and so on and so forth. Okay, so it goes on to say that she's taken captive, right? Now, who is? All who sin are slaves to sin. First and foremost, spiritually defeated by who? By other people who are spiritually defeated. Wickedness overthrows the sinner, right? Just because the beast burns the prostitute with fire doesn't mean the beast hasn't been defeated and isn't on its way to the lake of fire. And we see the beast go to the lake of fire in Revelation 19. The heavenly warrior defeats the beast. It's not talking about me. It's talking about how you people can't stand against God and I. You too will become drunk. You will go into hiding and seek refuge from the enemy. All your fortresses are like fig trees with their first ripe fruit. When they are shaken, the figs fall into the mouth of the eater. Look at your troops. They are all weaklings. Look at your troops. Okay, going back to what I said about, the individual soldier, not just the group, right? It's not that their army is small in terms of numbers. He's saying, look, you're a bunch of fucking bitches. Your mind, body, soul, and spirit is laughable. Okay? The gates of your land are wide open to your enemies. Fire has consumed the bars of your gates. You're spiritual weaklings. And it's expressed in your exact way about you. Now, you could be, 4 feet tall. You could be 4 feet tall, like, whatever, like 90 pounds or whatever it would be, 60 pounds or whatever. And you could still be mighty if you obey God through me. But if you don't, you're just a little person who's a pussy, right? Pretty straightforward. So it's saying you're wide open. You're relying on your own flesh. And the Bible talks about that in Isaiah. It's people who rely on their flesh instead of the Spirit of the Lord. They're in trouble. It says, draw water for the sea. Strengthen your defenses, work the clay, tread the mortar, prepare the brickwork, right? It's saying get ready for the day of the Lord. Get ready for spiritual hardship. There the fire will consume you. The sword will cut you down. They will devour you like a swarm of locusts. Multiply like grasshoppers. Multiply like locusts. You have increased the number of your merchants till they are more numerous than the stars, right? So they're like great merchants, going back to the great locusts. Okay. But like locusts, they strip the land and fly away. Your guards are locusts. Your officials like swarms of locusts, right? So the officials are the swarms of locusts that they're talking about in Joel 1. They settle in the walls on a cold day, but when the sun appears, they fly away and no one knows where. King of Assyria, your shepherds slumber, your nobles lie down to rest. Your people are scattered on the mountains with no one to gather them. Nothing can heal you. Your wound is fatal. All who hear the news about you clap their hands at your fall, for who has not felt your endless cruelty? So the beast also includes the spirit of the false idols that are worshipped by Assyria, and usually they have one idol they worship more than the rest. And this connects to Babylon's system. It connects to America. It connects to the global system. It's more than just tariffs or something. It's the economic game in general. And, they might cancel all the tariffs. That doesn't change the fact they're extorting you. And the merchants, the guards, the officials, the nations are destroying your spiritual worth. You're in their cultures, you're in their their ways and their paths. Okay, so they fume me to try to make it so I sound bipolar or something because they're on some bitch ass shit. I want you, if anyone ever says anything like, well, he sounds like this, ask him, look, he sounds like that because he was manning up while your ancestors were going out like fucking bitches. Okay? Why the people around during his time were going out like bitches. How are you going to cite? That's like citing when Rambo's tortured in the movies. You're like, well, Rambo's being tortured. And the guy torturing him looks like he's doing, well, bitch, shut the fuck up, you stupid, close-minded, short-sighted bitch. Like, what the fuck don't you get? And that's the kind of that's the kind of stupidity that you see these days. You get these geek-ass bitches like Fume him going out like fucking bitches while I'm manning up to the fullest. You know what I'm saying? And when their wives look at them like, you fucking pussy, okay? They're like, well, I'm gonna reduce testosterone across the board because I'm a bitch. I'm a corporate fucking privileged bitch. They're on some bitch shit.